to see for the third time. And we're talking about Come From Away at the Comedy Theatre. Each occasion I exit the theatre in awe of what I've just witnessed, and each of them have been different productions in as much as some of the actors have changed. But it's a show I cannot get enough of, and with really good reason, because so brilliantly told, magnificently performed, a most remarkable story, and behind it is the most heinous of tragedies. Come From Away is dramatic, it's comedic, it's romantic, it's overlaid with immense sadness and apprehension, yet its core is drawn from the very best of humanity. Triumph of spirit, of strength, of resilience. I reckon it's a combination of marvellous writing, exceptional direction, superb choreography. You got minimal staging, a harmonious 12-strong cast, and 7 talented musicians, and it just works a treat. And even the musos, I mean, the kind of music, combination, Dave, of Celtic and more familiar instruments to produce this distinctive sound. Do you remember how it started? Throbbing pulse of the, what's called the bodhran.
Yep.
Reminiscent of somebody dancing on a wooden floor. It just works, doesn't it?
It does. It's absolutely amazing. My 2 favourite musicals of all time have always been Once and Oliver, and I put this up with that. I just found this absolutely remarkable. The universe had transpired against me the other times to see this.
So this is your first. You're a virgin Come From Away person.
Definitely, and this absolutely blew me away.
I remember when I first. Yeah, thank you. They're the words. Blew me away. When you first see this, you think, how could anybody be this brilliant to come up with a script from one of the most tragic events in history? And they have.
They have. It's amazing. Yeah.
Look, it's feel good, isn't it? As well, when given it's, by the way, it's 100 minutes without interval, and it does not let up, does it, Dave?
No, and you find yourself going on a real emotional journey as well. There are times when you are laughing with what's happening with the characters. There are other times when you're deep in thought about what would I have done if I was in that situation, and then there's times when you want to cry. It really does take you on that emotional journey with all of the characters, and I have to say, Zoe Gertz, what an amazing performance playing Beverly the pilot. She is amazing, and I was sitting only a couple of rows back from the stage, so I could see up close how much power she was putting into her songs, into her performance, and it was amazing. I haven't seen a performance like that for a long time.
She's one of the... Dave, there's only 3 or 4 of the originals in this. Bear in mind, that just to give you a bit of a time frame here, it started in... It was debuted in Broadway, or on Broadway, February 2017. And it claimed the Tony Award for Best Direction, not surprisingly. Now, in Melbourne, it came here in the middle of 2019. Then it came back at the start of last year, and now it's here again. And Zoe Gertz played the first female captain of an American Airlines aircraft from that very first show. She was a member of the original Australian company. As I mentioned, only 3 or 4 of the 12 now are from that original production. And I don't know one person who's seen this who hasn't raved about it. I actually don't know. I don't think you could get a bad review for Come From Away, could you?
No, look, it was one of those performances where I wanted to walk out and buy tickets for the next night at the box office. Yeah. I could go and see this 8-9 times and still see something different every time.
100%. Now, for those people who haven't seen it or don't know what it's about, it's inspired by fact, and it restores your faith in the world. As you say, it's moving, it's uplifting, it's funny, it's energetic, it's melodic. And who would have thought anyone could turn such a dastardly deed on its head and create something so powerful and so positive and so theatrical? And the story is set in Newfoundland, and for those people who don't know where that is, it's an island off the far northeast coast of Canada. And it's set after the September 11 terrorist attacks of 2001, 9/11. As a result, for the first time, American airspace was shut down. 38 commercial aircraft carrying 6,579 passengers from 92 countries were diverted to this sleepy hollow, Newfoundland. Population, 9,651 and 4 traffic lights. They were ill-equipped to handle a deluge of people. But led by the Mayor of Gander, the citizens of Newfoundland rallied and they found a way through. And when the folk landed, those on board the planes, they had no idea what had just happened. When they found out, like the rest of the world, they were deeply shocked. They just wanted to get home. But they couldn't for 5 long days. And in the meantime, the townsfolk went way beyond the call of duty to lend a helping hand. By so doing, they entrenched Newfoundland into the psyche of all who inadvertently found their way there. And amongst the chaos, that place, Newfoundland, became an unexpected haven, which the weary travellers took to heart. And of course, there was tension, there was distrust, there was fear, there was heartbreak, also overwhelming goodwill from the locals, and that's what won out. So in this story, Come From Away, love is lost and found, and new lifelong friendships are forged, all in the space of just a few days that changed those involved. By the way, do you know where the title Come From Away comes from, Dave?
No, I don't actually.
Because when you hear it, you're thinking, we talked about titles earlier in this segment, the titles are really important, and you sort of, to remember it is difficult enough when you first hear it. So this is its origin. The Newfoundlanders refer to those not born on the island as come from aways. That's where the title was born. And because it's had such success, people now understand, because it doesn't make English sense when you first hear come from away. It's an odd collection of words put together. So to create the show, the Canadian writers Irene Sankoff and David Hine, they're responsible for the music, the lyrics, and the books. They went straight to the source. They travelled to Newfoundland for the 10th anniversary of that fateful week, and they collected hundreds of hours of interviews that they distilled into this completed work that we see Come From Away. So, I mean, it's the pedigree of it. And, yeah, I thought Zoe Gertz was amazing. And the other standouts, David Silvestri was great as the larger-than-life Mayor of Gander, wasn't he?
He was, and the other person that I really, really thought did an amazing job too was Joe Koski, of course, who plays the police officer.
I noted him as well. I agree with you, David. But the two of them, they're just, I mean, you just believe them. It's just, by the way, what about the portrayal of the comic showing or comedic showing of Kyle Brown, who's worried that they're going to steal his wallet?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And that's what I mean. It's really hard to pinpoint people from this production because you've got Kat Harrison as well, who does an amazing job as the animal rescuer, who doesn't care what the security says. She's going to get on those planes to rescue the animals. There's so much amazing performances. And like you said, there's a mixture as well. There's comedic performances, there's dramatic performances, and it just all flows and works so well.
The other thing we should say is that all of them play multiple characters.
Yeah.
That's the other. So we've talked about one of their characters, but one that immediately comes to mind, Emma Powell. She plays this sort of empathetic local, and then they get on with it. You know, the person who just gets on with the business. She's the one. Remember, there was somebody who came from one of the Arab nations who wanted to help. He was an Egyptian, actually.
Yeah.
And he wanted to help make the food, and she was the one dismissive of him initially. And then you've got the empathy she shows to another woman who has come, whose son is a firefighter, and the son's gone missing. So this is the role of Emma Powell. What about the set, Dave? Really, really minimalist, wasn't it?
It is, but it works. Like, the chairs play a very important part. The chairs are used in every scene, and they become plain chairs, they become bar chairs, and it's minimalistic, but it works.
Really well. B.O. Wolfe-Borrett is responsible for the scenic design. You've also got that revolving central stage, which is quite common these days. You've just got a few trees on either side.
Yeah.
And then suddenly some signs light up because it becomes a bar. So, and there's 15 songs. They're rousing, they're poignant. So much happens, and the words and the lyrics both tell a tale of anguish and inspiration. Directed by Christopher Ashley, musical supervision Ian Eisendrath, musical staging by Kelly Devine, and the narrative, doesn't it move along at pace, Dave?
It does, and one of the things that I really thought I might have had an issue with was knowing that everybody plays so many characters. I thought I might have got lost. I didn't. It works so well. The director has done an amazing job making sure that element of the show works for the entire audience to keep up with it.
100%. Narrative moves along, and it leaves you feeling buoyant. I cannot recommend Come From Away more highly. It is an astounding piece of work. It's brilliantly conceived and executed. So, what do you reckon, Dave? See it for the first time, second, third, regardless, just go and see it, yeah?
Definitely. In my top 3 musicals of all time now.
Yeah, Dave, Greg, you always ask me about scores. I'd give this a 10 out of 10. Have you seen it or not?
I saw it when it was here the first time around, Alex. I loved it too. I agree with what you and Dave have been saying about it, especially the staging, using the chairs as different props throughout the thing. The fact that the actors play multiple characters here and they do the switches on stage. And the songs are just so infectious and enjoyable. And I learned so much about this, about what happened at that.
That's a brilliant point, Greg. Really brilliantly said. I agree. And listen, I'm going to have to quickly move on because we're almost out of time. Peter, please go and see this. I know you don't see theatre usually. Please, please, please go and see it. I want to talk about